Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. Good morning. Ooh, I'll pull it up over here. Here we go. Ready?
Wait. Sam's going to do magic. You at home won't appreciate this.
No, this won't matter at all to you. Oh, we're at this is meeting stuff. You guys don't get to see this.
I have no
stuff.
idea what's going on.
Check this out. Ready? Boom. It does take its time, so it's not as cool of a magic trick.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up the chat so we can talk to the people.
Yeah. Talk to the people.
I do enjoy your wallpaper, though, which is the two of you.
Yes.
Floating in space. That shout out to Zach Taylor for taking that picture
really
of
cool.
ours. Because he's a talented
We're gonna take new pictures of us soon, probably.
We kind of need to. Oh, Danny Boy and Super Mac, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And we do one of these so we can see those boys. Where is it? Here it is. This is a good start. Good morning.
Good
welcome.
morning. Now we're here.
And man, I'm gonna be honest. Before we get into the podcast, I didn't sleep for like 4 hours last night because I was in a lot of pain.
Is that why you think it's morning and it's 1 p.m.?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
call.
not morning anywhere.
Anywhere.
Actually,
Hold on.
anywhere.
I'm still waiting for breakfast.
So the way you phrase that, did you only sleep for 4 hours, or for 4 hours the night you didn't sleep?
I slept for 4.
Okay.
Awake for 4.
Yes.
And then I went to sleep for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Again. It was rough.
You should be fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
right.
Yeah, you should be fine.
There's some math
Listen,
there.
you got that 30 minutes in. Are you ready to dive in?
Let's hop into
Let's
it.
do
All right.
it.
3, 2.
Hello, welcome to Only Stupid Answers, the best dang podcast you could put your moist little ears into. My name is Sam Basher, and of course, joining me is Mr. DJ Woldridge. How
Hello,
you doing?
I am here, but we also have a very special guest
Yes,
today.
the one, the only, Miss Dani Fernandez. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm not the only Dani Fernandez. There's a magician that's named Dani Fernandez, and there's
Interesting.
also
Good,
a boy
or-
band singer.
Were either of those in Wreck-It Ralph?
No, that's
hold
true.
on.
But one of them did. Somebody did block me. Like years ago, I asked if I could buy their handle from them, and they just straight up blocked me. And I want to be like, oh no, I meant for money.
Yeah.
I would have given you money for it. So there's a couple. It's a popular name, I suppose.
Interesting. It's weird how many people are out there that don't want your money. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to pay you for this. No.
Yeah, they get offended.
Hold on a
It's like,
second.
I
Just
think
take my
he was
money.
like, this is my name. And he spelled it the way that I do, which is D-A-N-I, which I always thought like, oh, that's the girl way. But no, I guess it's for everyone. So
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did find one Sam Basher on Facebook, and she's a girl, and she lives in like Sacramento. I was like, oh, whoa, crazy. And like, from as far as I could tell, we have like literally no relatives. And I was gonna message, be like, hey, kind of cool, right? And then I just looked at her page for a second, and it was like a lot of extremely religious and conspiracy theory heavy posts, and I was like, I probably don't need to talk.
Yeah,
to her.
I don't need to talk to this person.
It's just alternate timeline, Sam. We'll leave her alone.
Yeah, and it's shocking. Not a lot of Woldridges out there.
No.
I know. It blows people's minds.
It's the L and the D in the middle that kind of throw it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and everybody wants to drop one of them.
I did.
Yeah.
It was wrong on my phone for years.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It was fun to learn as a kid.
Danny, you host.
yeah,
You're in movies.
yeah,
You do podcasts.
I do. You've been on it.
Yes.
Yeah, you were a very great guest on my podcast, Nerdificent, where we broke down The Flash.
That was
and
fun.
I could not. I think.
Why'd you think of this boy for
Well,
the Flash?
see, I think that you would be offended if I didn't. It's like one of those things. If someone did an episode on Dragon Ball Z and it's tattooed on me as the Flash is on you, I would I am offended. I wasn't asked.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
This is my thing. Yeah, so it was great. It was funny and educational.
Well, Danny Boy and Super Mac joining us live. Patreon, a little shout out, patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. They're big fans of yours.
Yay.
And Nerdificent. I do know that Danny Boy listens, and Danny Boy's a good boy. He's a good boy.
He's
That's
a good Danny
good
boy.
name.
But yeah, we did do a mention. That is a good name. We did give a little shout out to Wreck-It Ralph. You're in that movie, playing yourself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. They hit me up and were like, "Hey, do you want to be in a movie about video games and the internet?" And they had a lot of real life.
Was it Bob
people.
Iger? Did Bob Iger
Bob
call you?
Iger called me. It is funny because everyone thinks I got it from my agents, and I was like, "No, I just got it from living online." Finally, all those years of
Paid off.
freelancing for every channel ever. I'm glad that they thought of me. And so they wanted a real life host from the internet to play a host on the internet.
Dig it.
So there were other people. Flula was in it.
He was in it. Yeah,
he
that was
in it.
It's you can't miss that
accent.
To be honest, faux German. Like you
Yeah,
hear it
yeah,
immediately,
yeah.
and I get happy. I like Flula a lot.
Jabuki, who is blowing up, Jabuki Young White, who's a comic. He was in it.
In it?
Yes.
Because I know he's a writer. I didn't know he did he has voices in the movie.
He plays a character called McNeely, who's right before my scene. They're in an office sharing like memes and stuff. And I saw it and I was like, that person looks like Jabuki. And then I found out it was him. So Melissa Villasenor is also in it. She took over the reins from Mindy Kaling from her character. I think she was pregnant at the time and couldn't, and working on like a billion other things.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, yeah. So there's a couple of there. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in it. Jason Mantzoukas, like a lot of like.
He's got a great.
He is my favorite part in the entire. My part is not my favorite part. Like it's beautiful and great, but his part, because I resonate with it so much. Is my favorite part.
And I forget her real name, but crazy makeup lady just had a baby. Oops, can't explain it. She plays herself. She's the character that.
Oh yes,
Miranda sings.
Miranda
Jeez,
sings.
had to work
Miranda
through that.
sings.
And her real name is Colleen.
Yeah, Colleen.
Yes, there we go.
And her social security number is.
and
They
their baby
wanted
Wade.
yeah, they wanted people from the internet to be in it. So yeah.
That was super cool. Congratulations.
Thank
I definitely
you.
texted you when you could finally say something about it. I'm like, man, that's super fucking cool. That's legit. That's
I
next
kept
level.
it quiet for a long time.
I can't do
Well,
that.
you had to. They would have killed you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also was afraid they were going to cut it out because there are deleted scenes on their DVDs. So I was like, what if I tell everyone and then it's deleted and I will feel dumb? So
That would suck. But hey, you're animated in a Disney movie. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And on Nerdificent, you talk about all kinds of nerdy things. But what are like if you were to boil it down, what are your big nerdy passions?
Mine, obviously, like Dragon Ball, anime in general, but I grew up watching like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, like some of those big, heavy hitting ones that to me really helped not only like established that medium, but influenced a lot of the creators we see today. That's why I hate when they're called like gateway animes, because I'm like, no, but they're creators. Like Akira Toriyama, like he influenced so many people that are out now. Like without him, they might not have pursued it. They might not, the creator of One Punch Man said that he was influenced by it. So that super into Twilight Zone. I have a huge Twilight Zone wall of artwork at my place.
Are you excited for the relaunch?
I'm so ready for it. I'm so excited to see what they're gonna do, and I know some people over there. So
Cool.
yeah.
They were shooting. I just went to Vancouver and they were shooting it there. I'm like, oh man. There's no. I have a weekend here, and I don't have time to do that. But I kind of really wanted to. Do you have any love for the Forrest Whitaker reboot that they did like early 2000s?
A little bit, and the movie as well. I did enjoy parts of the movie that came out, but nothing hits quite the same as the original.
Yeah.
I think it was so groundbreaking for that time. I love Rod Serling, and I like watching. I watch like YouTube videos of him, like that they've uploaded.
Yeah.
It's not like him, like, hey kids,
Yeah.
like and subscribe. But
That would be some decades after being dead. He's uploading videos. You're like, well, wait, hold on a second.
That would be funny if he like knew that was going to be a thing because he knows the future.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
But I'll watch interviews of him and he'll talk about censorship and how much CBS, how he would fight as a creator to be able to tell some of these stories because they were really controversial for that time. It was in the 50s. So yeah, so I love Twilight Zone, Star Wars, very excited
Nice.
for this next movie coming out. Yeah, those are my Wonder Woman, of course.
Yes.
She was my other tattoo I was gonna get. I'm obsessed with Wonder Woman.
I want a Wonder Woman tattoo really bad. I have the Flash over here, and I keep rotating out what would be the opposite shoulder. Like I like Teen Titans T would be really cool, or like a Titans T that'd be fun. I have a NASA like tattoo, like someone designed for me, and I'm like, but that's a big one. That's a big one, and I'm like, Wonder
That's a
Woman.
full back tattoo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's your Yakuza.
It's every single launch that's ever happened.
Nice.
Boom.
Wow.
That'd be impressive. But I did have a question, and it escaped me. What is your go-to Twilight Zone episode that you could say is the one that like maybe influenced you the most, or it's your favorite? Yeah, it was favorite.
The one that my favorite, which changes throughout the years as I grow older, which I think is so cool. It's like you resonate with someone you're younger because it's like, oh, this was scary. My mom's, when she was younger, that scared her was The Invaders. It was when these tiny little robot things, I don't know if you remember, it's actually there's no speaking lines for the actress that's in it. And when she got it, she was like, where's my lines? So she had to deliver this fear, and show fear and stuff in this. And it has a big twist. And as he does, my current favorite favorite is The Howling Man.
Okay.
And I have artwork of it. It's when they capture Satan. And they're trying, it's like a cult-ish, like of guys that kind of look like Moses and Abraham, that capture Satan, and a tourist comes and they're like, do not open this door, that guy is Satan. But he's so charming and handsome, and I love it. I think I love it because it starts in like a dark and stormy night. They're in a castle. It's like all of these horror thriller vibes to it that when you want to watch something spooky, that does it for me.
My go-to is, I'm blanking on the name, and that's definitely good as a fan. But it is the episode where it's the old woman who is, she's agoraphobic. She hasn't left her house, and clearly, like, because she's scared that if she goes outside, death is going to get her. And that,
yes,
all
it's
time,
like,
I
yes.
cried. I cried watching that as a kid because my dad got me. Well, he used to burn DVDs, so and he had like old copies, and he would just like burn it to a DVD. He even had a printer to make DVD like paper, like the cover on them. And so I make my way through the episodes, and when I got to that one, it got me. And I don't know why, because I kind of want to rewatch it and see if it still has the same effect on me.
You should.
But they are on Netflix.
Yeah, except for I think the fourth season. They're missing a season.
Weird.
I think. I know.
No.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No.
And I shot an arrow up in the air. I shot an arrow into the air.
Yes.
That one,
Yes.
because I like the poem that goes with it, and honestly, that twist got me. There is one that I like as well, with the cowboy that goes over the ridge to go get like help. Like he accidentally goes into the future and then leaves. Love it. It's so cool. Oh my God. I need to rewatch it now.
The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, I actually read as a play. It was in a lot of English textbooks when I was in high school, so I know other people did as well. But it still is so relevant today. If you haven't watched it, just go and watch Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, because it talks about mob mentality, and it's just like people pointing fingers when like chaos happens, and it has one of the best quotes at the end that essentially talks about our assumptions about people that we don't know, and like mob mentality, and it still relates today. It's great.
It always bums me out when you go and watch something from back in the day and you realize, wait, we didn't learn anything.
I know.
Like the Jimmy Stewart Christmas movie, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name.
It's a Wonderful
Life.
Life.
A Wonderful Life. Like when you watch that, that's on TV every year. And the bankers are like the bad guy, and it's like, did we not? This is on every year. Did we not learn anything from this movie?
To be fair, I didn't watch that till I was like 23.
Yeah, but come on, like what's happening anyway? It's the same stuff. It's always the same stuff.
Yeah.
No matter how far back you go.
Well, we're kind of already into it, but we like to open up the episodes, and we're already well into the episode, but with a segment called "What We're Into This Week." DJ,
Yeah.
kicking it off. What are you into?
Last night I watched High Flying Bird. It's a new Netflix movie directed by Steven Soderbergh, written by the same writer who wrote the play for Moonlight. And it is about. Let me bring up some info on it because
yesterday on the stream, yeah, it's over there. Yesterday on the stream, you were talking about wanting to watch it, so I'm glad you had the chance to check it out. Umbrella Academy is on my list. I want to check that out.
Yeah, I might check that out, but it's it's a whole show, so that's gonna take a minute. But yeah, it's about the NBA being on a lockout. And a manager, trying to keep one of his star players in line and figure out how to navigate the lockout. And it stars Andre Holland, who's also from Moonlight. He was also in Castle Rock.
He was,
This is a better showcase of his ability than I think Castle Rock was. Melvin Gregg, who was my favorite part of the second season of American Vandal. And Zazie Beetz is in it as well. And Bill Duke. Bill Duke has been in a bunch of stuff I've seen recently. He's in Predator. He was in, I'm sorry, Mandy. He was in Mandy. He wasn't the original The Predator. Yeah. He was also in, I just recently watched The Limey, which is another Steven Soderbergh movie, and he's in that as well.
Is he on Black Lightning right now?
Yeah,
he's on Black Lightning.
He's the guy that's in charge of the scientists and everything.
Evil science.
Yeah, he's so good. But anyway, it's definitely it's a lot like an Aaron Sorkin, like breaking down the ins and outs of a business, kind of very expositional, but like snappy dialogue, way into that. It is shot. It's another Steven Soderbergh where he's like, hey, I'm going to shoot this on an iPhone 7. And so some of it looks, I appreciate the intent. Like a lot of it deals with, how athletes and celebrities can process their image, or can be more themselves through social media now. Yeah. So I appreciate that, but some of it does look straight trash because it's shot on an iPhone. And so it's like, I mean, I guess I get it, but maybe don't. But I really enjoyed the intent behind it, what it's talking about, the way it talks about it. I'm a sucker for just having two characters in the room who know what they're talking about and confident about it. and that kind of like snappy, fast-paced dialogue. And there's a lot of that in this, and a lot of really talented actors doing really good jobs.
Very cool.
I was gonna say I had to interview Bill Duke for a piece that we did on Black Panther, like its impact, and that I made with Legendary, and he told us this story because he's a director. I mean, he's done so many things, but he directed an episode of Dallas.
Wow.
Like old school, And
Wow.
he said he showed up like at the ranch and he was all dressed up. Like he was in a suit because he was like, I was directing Dallas. And they thought he was a waiter. Oof. And it was just like such a, which I'm sure he would get today as well, but like it was just so like I could sit and listen to him talk forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really someone should do a show. Someone should do a podcast with Bill Duke.
Yeah.
Convince him to do a podcast of just talking about his experiences in Hollywood, because he's been here longer than most people and could talk about what it's been like.
He's one of those great character actors that he just has a really wonderful presence whenever he shows up in anything. And it makes me happy whenever he pops up.
Same.
Yeah.
Is he shredded in Predator? Is he like?
No, he's not one of the really jacked ones.
That would have been cool because I know what he looks like now, and I would love to like see that like, in his prime, he could rip me in half.
No, he basically looks exactly the same. Yeah, he's not aged a day since then. Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out, just quick ones because we talked about Twilight Zone. I want to ask Danny what you're into this week, but my friend and roommate Darren Girdner just dropped an album on Spotify, Lemon Grove. You should go listen to that. But also, podcast I'm into right now is David Tennant does a podcast with.
Yeah.
So it's just David Tennant, and
funny.
there's a bunch of celebrities right now doing podcasts, and they're all like basically like, what if I brought my friend over and we talked? And
Exactly.
It's like Marin.
it's so easy and it's so enjoyable, but I think it's that little bit of like it's my enjoyment of hearing English people speak, and
Yep.
he actually does a great job getting his guests just to talk and fill up the episode, because all of a sudden he had Whoopi Goldberg on for one episode, and I was like half into it because it's like she's not totally like as popular right now for me and stuff that I'm watching.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna be super interesting, but all of a sudden an hour went by and I'm like, holy crap, she is so cool. Like her entire like in-depth like analysis of like going on to Star Trek and what that meant for her and everything. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Also, I know...
Was that her character? Guinan?
Oh, she never spoke her character's
Oh,
name.
no,
Yeah,
okay.
never spoke her character's
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Never said it. But it was really interesting. She had Jodie Whittaker on, the new Doctor, and had... who's her co-host on Broadchurch? You know what I'm talking about?
Her co-star?
Her co-star.
That was him.
David
Tennant was the...
But who was the guest?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember either. Anyways, it's a wonderful podcast if you guys just want something nice to have on the background and to learn more about actors and David Tennant being charming, because he does a perfect job as an actor being an interviewer, and a lot of actors are not good at getting information out of other people. So very good. But Danny, what are you into this week? What are you reading, watching, doing?
True Detective season 3.
Yeah.
I'm so into
I think
it.
I'm an episode or two behind. I'm at the episode where the Mahershala Ali reconnected with his partner as an old man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I'm at.
Well, for those that don't know you can hop in to any of the seasons. You don't have to see the previous 2 seasons because each time they have a different set of detectives. It's an anthology series. So this season they're actually looking at 3 different decades. So it's the 80s, I believe.
Yeah.
And then maybe like 90s,
It's
late
literally
90s.
like a decade later.
Yeah,
and then
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're having to play themselves as young people, as like married with 2 kids, and then as elderly men. And it took an episode or 2 where I was like, that's okay. Like I heard everyone talking about it, and now I'm like so into it.
Yeah.
And it upsets me. That's why I know it's doing its job. Like I literally am upset when I watch it sometimes. I'm like, no, they're not believing him.
Yeah.
Why aren't you believing him? Why would you do that to him? Or what? And I just get so, and then it like cuts and it's like, next week. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So it is one of those, because we're so used to binging things. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things that I look forward to every Sunday.
I like that. I like that with True Detective and Game of Thrones, and I miss having shows that were deep enough that you could sit on them for a week.
Yeah.
And you still get stuff out of it, and then you get the next episode, because I think with like the binging model, it's usually the things are so airy that it's like, well, you couldn't sit on this for a week because nothing really happened. Like nothing important happened. I remember one of the things that got me in this season is, as an old man, it sucks, man, because he's losing his memory. He's sundowning, and there's a part where he's trying to recollect a memory, and literal ghosts from his past are appearing from behind him because he served in Vietnam. And there's Viet Cong soldiers, but there's also just a guy in a suit, and you're like, wait, why is that guy there? What's the story behind that? Like, and I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, but it's really, this season's really good. It's a nice throwback to season 1.
Yeah.
Which you don't need to watch all the seasons, but I do recommend seeing season 1 'cause
is
it's so
great.
good.
Yeah.
And I there are parts of season 2 that I can defend, but season 1's like season 1 and 3 are the tops.
Yeah.
As it were.
I should be watching it, but we all saw something. We saw it at the same time. Alita Battle Angel, directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it's we have a full review on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/onlystupidanswers. Boom. Good plug, Sam. Thank you. And you can listen to what our thoughts are. But Danny, what did you think of the movie?
Wait, before we dive into that, let's say hi to a friend of ours.
Good call. Because there needed to be a spot for that, and I didn't know where to put it.
Boom. And also, it's a nice little like, uh-oh, you excited? Just wait 1 second.
Middle finger to you.
All right, give me a little clap.
We do that all the time.
Yes, so Danny, you saw the movie.
Yes.
With us. We were all in the same theater.
Yeah. I was unaware. I actually think I knew you were there. No, I didn't. I saw you
didn't
after.
know. There
I
you
knew
go.
that I could
You
feel
could
your
sense
spirit.
it. Yeah, exactly.
I can feel your spirit.
I have a musk.
This is I think I'm curious to see one it left on a cliffhanger, which I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it left on a cliffhanger. It did.
Yeah.
So I found
Almost literally.
Yeah. So I found that really fascinating because I'm like, oh man, how long is it going to take them with this technology? The technology is really cool, but I don't know how long it took them to make
That's
this.
a good point. Is it going to be like Avatar where it's like in 20 years you're going to get 5 sequels?
We can finally go underwater.
Yeah, I'm really excited that she exists. I'm excited that we have another badass. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here. I'm sure ass is fine.
You can say whatever you want.
Another badass superhero because the fight scenes were legit.
Yes.
The fight scenes were so good, and people were like cheering during them. Like she was like smashing people's faces.
Yeah.
And so like that I thought was really really cool. I don't know. I wish that we had like some of the bad guys. I think could have been more like. I don't even know if more developed is the term, but like we didn't really get like a big bad that we got to see, and I think it's because we're kind of gonna see it in the next one.
Yeah,
but that made it a little difficult.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of True Detective, the big bad we sort of get is Mahershala Ali. Yeah.
The closest we get.
He's the closest we
but
get.
It's still kind
and
of
he's kind of
feels...
just a cipher for the actual big bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I for just revisiting how when I left I was like CGI incredible, amazing. My favorite scene in the movie is when she wakes up for the first time and she explores what is she, because she doesn't know, and I'm like, that's amazing. And the action, because every time I wish there was a whole movie just where it's motorball. I want to see that, because they go all out, they're swinging around with bats on chains with nails in them. I'm like, this is dangerous, but I do kind of want to see it more. Also, this world's a nightmare because all their essences are boiled down to just brains in their head. And then even at a point, a guy gets something halfway through his brain and he's fine. He's totally okay. It's not a big deal. Shout out to that guy who played Rorschach in the Watchmen movie.
Yes.
Damn it, you always know his name.
Jackie Earle Haley.
Thank you. There you go. 3-name man. That's his name.
He's really talented. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioning how badass she was, because my understanding is James Cameron was a fan of the manga, and he wanted to have something that his daughter would be into. And then now she's an adult, and the movie's coming out. Now she's a grown person, and they're finally finishing this movie. But that was his goal. He wanted to have more badass ladies in cinema, because I guess maybe when his daughter was a kid, Sarah Connor was a little too adult.
A little bit.
Yeah.
True.
No, I enjoyed this movie for what it was, but as a fan of anime, as we've mentioned, and do you dabble in manga?
Yeah. But I didn't read this manga, so I don't know. I mean, I guess the biggest thing would be if the people who grew up with it enjoyed it, and from what I can tell, they do.
Yeah, from the audience we were with.
Yeah, the people
just kept cheering for things like, wait, what just happened?
Oh no, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, I'm not used to this feeling.
But so that would be the biggest. I mean, obviously you want it to be for all audiences, and I do think it would be interesting to see how young kids can watch it, because that is who I think is main capital. I mean, when you have like these cool robots and the cast is young, you know, her love interest is really young, and so and she's young, she's a teenager, so it's like would be what I find fascinating. Those two demographics I think are the most important, is like the young people that are going to see it, and if they have toys or if they have like how they can capitalize on that in some way, and then the people that grew up with it, if they feel it's done right, then I think they did a good job.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of, this was along the lines of other similar movies where I'm watching it and I'm like, man, 13-year-old DJ would be way into this.
Right.
Like, would be all about everything that's happening here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, and do you find it to be a faithful adaptation, like of manga in general, or do you think that it's like a step in the right direction? You haven't read it, but in your eyes, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I'm so excited for this technology, because everyone tells me that like the anime, everyone's we can't do anime, you know, live action well, and I'm like, but we have the technology to do it well. Like people didn't like Thanos when they first introduced Thanos, and now it's like the biggest thing, the biggest movie, and it's like, you can't tell me that we don't have the technology. We do. It's just you need someone to do it right, and that cares about it.
Yeah. Is that
helps he's hot.
Are you talking about Thanos?
Yeah, 100%. I want him to throw me. Just kind of shot put me.
He's like a hot grimace. Yeah.
That's an interesting. As a fan of anime, why do you think it has been so challenging to do? Because you're right, it's not the technology at this point.
But that's what everyone says.
Same with
that's
video
what people
games.
say about Dragon Ball Z. They're like, you can't do it. It wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
It's not true. If you can do Guardians of the Galaxy, Infinity War, you can do these things that take place entirely almost in space, like intergalactic fighting, and you can make that look good and real. There's no reason why you can't do these for other animes. People don't like hearing that, but whatever. It's gonna happen. It's
gonna happen.
They're gonna capitalize on everything that they possibly can, and once they're done with an American IPs, they're gonna move on to a lot of these that already have built-in fan bases and franchises. I think to answer your question of why it doesn't happen is because they give it to people who don't care about it.
So it's like superhero movies in like the 80s.
Yeah, like they just give it like the person, no offense to them, but the person that made Dragon Ball Evolution had never seen Dragon Ball before.
Yeah.
That's probably not a thing that you should do.
Yeah.
You know, like you should give it to someone that really cares about the story. They don't necessarily have to have grown up with it, but they have to think that, you know, they have to care about the storytelling of it and care enough that it looks good and is not just a paycheck.
Yeah.
Because because people who made this movie loved it, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
And that made it was very clear on screen. There's some anime. I feel like there's some anime elements or manga elements in this movie that I was like, oh, that's for someone that's not me. But I could see how fans would be happy about that, and like you guys have been saying, that it could get younger people on board. Like specifically when she cuts the tear in half, I was like, I have no idea. This probably means something.
Whoa! Spoilers on cutting the tear in half.
Midair, guys.
Everybody get ready for that scene in the movie. I think you make a really good point, because I think on some level, if you grow up with it, you know why it means something to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you were able to pull the stuff out that made it. It's actually kind of a weird reference, but I think one of my favorite better adaptations is Where the Wild Things Are, because that's not so much an adaptation of that like 5-page kid story. It's an adaptation of the way that story made Spike Jonze feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's more meaningful because it's coming from that place.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
What do you think? What do you think would be the anime live action adaptation that would like break the seal? Would be the one that like cool? Like I guess I
have an idea. Even though I've only watched a few episodes, I have an idea. But I do want to hear you first.
Because I think the breakthrough with superhero movies that kind of like, oh, this is going to be because obviously we had Richard Donner's Superman and we had Tim Burton's Batman, but the one was like, oh, this is happening now. I think is probably X-Men.
Yeah.
You know, Blade, because Blade is sort of, came first, and it is sort of a superhero movie, but I think the first Bryan Singer X-Men movie was like, okay, well, and then after that, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, it's like superhero movies are here now. What could be kind of like that for anime adaptations?
I mean, in the vein of X-Men, I would say My Hero Academia.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
My Hero Academia is becoming people's favorite anime, and it is a newer one. It's only been out like the last several years, so
Still
it's not
has,
as
like, 600
OG
episodes.
as. Although our friend Hector Navarro will go to bat for Speed Racer any day, which
That
was
movie?
also
I did enjoy that movie.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that movie.
You know, I personally want. I mean, aside from I personally think that Sailor Moon could really take. And
That makes a lot of sense to
they've
me.
done elements of it in Japan. They've done like live action movies and series, but like having a huge production, like a studio house behind it, and just having badass women. Like now is the time to make that. I would be surprised if behind closed doors there isn't pitches of trying to make that right now. The merch, all of the characters, like you could, you know, if you don't resonate with Usagi, like you can resonate with someone, like, you know, think of like, oh, I'm Sailor Venus, or I resonate with, like, there's so many to choose from. It's like the Avengers essentially.
Or like Spider-Verse too.
Yeah. So I think that would be. I'm sure they're working on it.
Which Sailor person is your favorite?
I mean, I love Sailor Moon.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah, and I also, I mean, I love to see Tuxedo Mask. Like, I love that she is still a teenage girl, and I know that sounds weird, but like, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I like the fact that she still has crushes. I like the fact that she still is vulnerable. Like, that's a normal human thing, and I think a lot of times when you have these superhero women, it's like, oh, we have to strip them of all of that. They're not allowed to be vulnerable. They're not allowed to have a love interest, or like, you know. And I understand that, and I'm glad that movie like Moana didn't give her a love interest, because I don't think you always need one, but I think it's normal to have one. You know, like, it's normal to date and like boys and girls and like be and have feelings. So
I feel like this movie, Alita specifically, kind of leaned into a YA feel, like a young adult.
Yes,
like,
totally.
And I feel like that was an American, like a little bit of American ideals or expectations when it comes to watching a movie like this. It's from what I've heard is it's in the manga, but I feel like we leaned into it even heavier when we saw this movie. Do you feel like if you did like a Dragon Ball Z-esque, or actually let's just say Dragon Ball Z, if they did an adaptation like that, could you see an adaptation happening like that where it leaned into like a relationship? A romance, yeah.
I would only see it in tiny spaces between Bulma and Vegeta. I think that would definitely be necessary. I think they'd probably have some type of steamy scene. It wouldn't last very long, but maybe them making out or something, because that is 1,000% fan service, and there's no way you don't have that happen.
You gotta have the fan service. I'm wondering, so let's say, going off this Sailor Moon situation, are there elements that you think you'd need to like dial back for Western audiences if you're making a live action version? Because like going to the Dragon Ball Z thing, I gotta think like, you got to do something about the hair. You can't go into that and make the hair look like the hair from you just can't. I just don't see that happening. I could be wrong. They've done a lot of crazy stuff with superhero movies that are from the comic, but that's something I would think you'd have to dial back. Is there something like that?
And they tried to, and I think honestly now that they wouldn't. I think they might change elements of it like a tiny bit, but I really don't think that they would take it away, because it's so iconic.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I mean though about our technology. I think that they could do it.
So you think it would be a movie like Alita, where you've got some like heavily CGI, even though it's a live action, like that hair is CG.
Yeah. I think you could. I'm trying to think of something else. Maybe the chat can help us. I'm trying to think of another movie where they've had something extravagant, but it looked okay.
Ooh, I was about to say, well, you just added an addendum to that, where I was like, oh, in Inhumans, they made Medusa's hair CG, and then
but that's a bad show. Let's think about the good. Let's think about the good stuff. What are some of the crazier? Like, well, they're kind of doing it with Captain Marvel. She doesn't have the mohawk the whole time, which does kind of bum me out.
They do make her hair kind of go Super Saiyan like a little bit with it flowing out, so it adds that effect to it. Would you be happy with a stylized, like this movie? Alita's kind of like CGI. It's kind of an animated movie at certain points. The main character is barely even there as a person.
Her performance is definitely there.
Her
performance
but
is great.
What we see is not there. What do you think about possibly adapting it in animated form, where you can kind of distill it down, where like Spider-Verse kind of like, it took elements from the comics, but it allowed these creators who loved the property to adapt it in their own way that made us like understand, because Spider-Verse, like you can get behind the superheroes pretty easy now. All audiences are on board with it, but in that it was like, no, you can be this good of a
Right.
person. And there are lessons in anime, right? Like, I mean, of course, it's storytelling. But like, would you be happy with that, or do you think a way to actually catapult these anime characters into like more pop culture is doing it live action?
Yep.
Because right, it kind of has to
Yep.
be, because Spider-Verse still did great, but it didn't do like, it's not making $1 billion at the box office. People aren't having the same reaction to like Black Panther or other stuff, or like Avengers Infinity War.
Well, the thing that's different with Spider-Verse is that we've already had all these live-action Spider-Man, so they kind of went, in reverse and in a smart way, where they combined. It was not just one animation style; they combined multiple animation styles. They had anime in there. They had, comic book style in there.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, where how can we make this feel different? And they were so smart about it and really taking risks. That's what you need with a lot of these, is someone that knows the franchise really well, is willing to take it, is going to put their heart and soul into the storytelling so it feels real, but is willing to take risks with it. So I think they're going to have to in order to stand out.
The one that always surprised me that after the success of Transformers, they didn't try and jump on is Gundam Wing. I'm surprised we haven't gotten
sure.
a Gundam Wing movie.
And it might be because it is similar. It's hard for our audiences sometimes to get behind. Cowboy Bebop is one that I think that they could definitely.
Isn't that getting a live action show?
It's getting something.
yeah, on
is doing
Netflix.
something.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
And
Yeah.
they're doing Avatar, which is
And they're doing
different.
Avatar.
We'll see.
I love that show. I don't need a live action show. I don't need it.
But what if it's cool?
I mean, yeah,
what if it's
maybe,
cool,
but like
though?
the show is already perfect.
It
I don't
is.
need it.
I think My Hero Academia would be great because I love the character of All Might, because it's almost like a commentary on it is a commentary when he was created on like, Captain America and like being the most like American like superhero, even though he's Japanese, but they were kind of like, poking fun a little bit about our superheroes and like Superman and Captain America.
Yeah.
And I like that because I like that commentary that they have. But also, in this world where everyone has a quirk, or not everyone, but, I like that. I think it could exist. And I like the fact that they're in like a high school setting. Mm-hmm. To answer your question about what I think Sailor Moon, if it needed to scale back, I don't necessarily. I think it could feel like a YA thing if they kept them in high school. Mm-hmm. You just have to know what demographic you're going for.
Yeah.
Man, I would love a My Hero Academia adaptation because it just makes sense. Out of like the other, like Dragon Ball Z makes sense because of its own popularity.
Yeah,
and
and
whatnot.
but you could also market My Hero Academia as a superhero movie, which
exactly.
they do well.
And
for
those do well.
sure.
But also, it's got the variety there. Like with the X-Men, it's like, well, if we don't like Cyclops, we got a guy with knives coming out of his hands.
No.
It's like you could. There's so much like room to grow, and also we like our movies like how Phil Lord and Chris Miller make their movies, where it's we can poke fun at it, but at the same time,
Yes.
there's a kernel of
Yeah.
love and truth
Right.
there that we can all attach to, and then we end up going back and watching all of their stuff.
Yeah.
I will watch anything Phil Lord and Chris Miller do from now on, even if it's garbage. I'll watch everything. I watched all of Last Man on Earth, and that one was that was rough.
Season 2 was really good.
Yeah. Did you keep going?
I bailed halfway through season 3.
There you go.
I bailed halfway through season 3. Is there? We're talking like this stuff doesn't exist. Is there like a live action anime adaptation that actually kills it?
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin. Check it out.
Nice.
Rurouni Kenshin. But that's because it's grounded. It's like the difference between street level Marvel and galactic Marvel. It's street level.
Yeah.
It's street level fighting and hand-to-hand combat. But Rurouni Kenshin is good.
Is that a Japanese?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
nice.
Even if you didn't watch the anime, or grow up with it, like check it out. It's good.
Is that the guy with the sword with the blade on the back and
Yeah,
he doesn't
yeah.
want to kill people anymore?
Sounds like a lot of anime.
Yeah, it's the guy. You were like, is it the guy with the sword? I'm like, yes.
Nailed it. Good job, DJ. High fives all around.
It does sound cool. And also, there's the Akira one that they keep talking about, like
Oh,
Taika Waititi
yeah.
was attached to for a second, like
Yeah.
making
And
a
it's
live
tough. I
action.
feel like it's tough with that. You know what? I think something that might help. Well, maybe not. I don't know. That might help anime. An anime adaptation is you don't go to the top shelf ones. Marvel
Oh.
got a lot of the MCU got a lot of early success by going with Iron Man and Cap and Thor, which did not have the same cachet as like the Spider-Mans or whatever. So maybe like go for like one. Don't go for Akira because it is the one. You know what I mean? So like maybe nail some of the middle tier ones and then see if you can go to the top shelf ones.
Comedically, maybe One Punch Man. Like maybe you would have to change his enemies, but like just the idea of a comedy about a guy who, when he punches people, they're like, that's it, they're dead. Like a superhero that like he's almost frustrated because he keeps killing everyone. Like that could work in a comedy world.
Yeah.
That could work on a street
Starring
level
Will
world.
Smith.
Wow.
That could work in a street level. Yeah.
Jay Shark from our Discord shout out. He's got jokes here. Check this one out. If you could adapt any anime/manga, what role would you give to ScarJo? Now moving on. He's got jokes. Kate, and you definitely get this question often, but I think this is a fun one because we're kind of coming to an end here. But Kate asks, what's the first anime she recommends to someone wanting to get into anime?
I think My Hero.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going back to it. I'm sorry, but it's just so, because that is a lot of the generation that I grew up in, we got Toonami. We watched that on Cartoon Network, which is still around, but it was a huge deal. Toonami in the late 90s, like they were responsible for introducing a lot of anime to American audiences. And I think that they kind of spun a lot of us into like why we love anime. And once you watch that, it was like you would go online and try to find other ones. So I've seen a ton, and I really do think that this generation and this, you know, the people that are coming up now, that My Hero is something that they really connect to. And I just can't speak enough about it. I mean, it has so much heart, and again, like a wide cast of characters for you to find your favorite character. And yeah.
Did you play Jump Force? That is
no, I need to.
I have seen the animation looks wonderful in it, and every time I'm like, oh, there's the Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
Yeah.
He's got the purple star hair. I know that one. And I have a question here from Cam Senses. Cam Senses, longtime fan. If Dani had to live in a universe from an anime, is there and is now a supporting character in the plot of said anime, which would you pick?
I mean, I guess. Oh gosh. Well, the cool thing about I feel like I want to talk about different ones because I'm always talking about the same ones, but that's just because I love them so much.
Yeah.
Gosh, where would I want to be? I mean,
because I feel like anime worlds are more fun than superhero worlds or whatever. Because it's like, which world would you want to live in? I don't know. They all seem kind of like nightmares, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. One Piece I think would be fun and adventurous, but I mean, Dragon Ball, they have Dragon Balls that wish you back to life if you died.
Yeah.
So
has anybody in that show like dead, never back dead?
Yeah, and they're just because they don't wish them back.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guy.
It's like if you're in prison and no one visits you, like that's them. They could wish them back, but they haven't.
It's kind of like Coco, where it's like, ooh, your family doesn't love you, so you're going to go to a second afterlife? I don't know.
Exactly it. Yeah, there are people that are dead.
Yeah.
Because, or else they've just weaseled away like ways to bring back people. Even people are like, no, wait, he already got his 2 times. Like, you can't wish him back. And it is like,
there's limits.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't bring someone back, and like you can't bring someone back when you already have. So then they made this whole thing where they'd go to Namek, and then you can
because they have their own Dragon Balls.
So they like get away from it, and then all of a sudden it's like all these things that they're like, oh, suddenly we also have gods, and suddenly we also have this. You know, like as they continued to write, they were like, oh, we need to retroactively go back and change some things. Kind of like Star Wars has done a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, wait, if that guy's the strongest in the universe, where was he the whole time?
Exactly. Also, kind of like with their Super Saiyan stuff, it's like, well, how does he beat this guy?
He just
Another
goes to the next level.
Yeah, he hits the next level of Super Saiyan.
Which
Idiot.
is
of course,
which is
duh.
why I love it, and I don't look at it too seriously, because of anything, like Dragon Ball started as a comedy, really started as a comedy, and humor is so important to Akira Toriyama, like above everything. Even people that have worked with him is like, he just cares about it being funny, which is why sometimes you're like, why did they make that decision? It was like for the humor of it.
Yeah.
Like in Dragon Ball Super Embroidery, like somebody makes, I'm not going to give it away, but someone makes a really dumb wish, and everyone's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, because it's dumb.
Yeah.
Because he wants to take, like, it's that scene in Star Wars with Luke, right? That everyone was mad about. That like what?
Oh, when he threw the lightsaber away.
It was like immediately, and it was like because that's the funny choice as opposed to doing what everyone wants you to do.
Yeah, and that always goes over really well
with
Yeah.
fandoms.
Yeah, fandoms. It goes over really well.
They're really flexible, which is cool, especially after decades of the same 3 movies. But it's fun, yeah. Lastly, I had nothing, no questions.
Before we wrap everything up, let's say hi to some people that gave us some 5-star reviews on iTunes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to iTunes for anyone who still uses that. Big ups.
I
Appreciate
do.
it.
What do you
There go.
use?
I use Spotify.
Okay.
And also Spotify, you can sponsor this podcast if you want to. We'd love it.
I mean, we're on there.
But sometimes they pay you.
Oh,
Yeah, there
that'd
you
be
go.
nice.
There you go. Dani, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate this and talk about anime, manga.
I did want to say I'm very aware that my style of anime is shonen. Like, you don't have to mention it. Like, I'm very aware that all my choices are, I don't know why those resonate with me the most, but that I'm so on brand with just being into shonen anime.
Shonen is the fighting and the stabbing.
It's technically
and
boys in quotes anime, and shoujo is for girls. But like, which is changing. Thankfully, people are like, oh, women are also into these. But yeah, historically or canonically, I've been very into shonen anime.
So something I really appreciate about anime that I wish Western animation would get its act together on, because I think it's a very versatile medium, is the diversity of storytelling. Like, there's animes and mangas about people that play tennis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
entire ones about like swim teams and ice skating. Yeah, those are super popular. Like volleyball teams, it's like entire anime about them.
Yeah, I wish Western animation would, because either it's targeted at kids or adult animation. Like Marvel just announced a whole animation slot. It's The Simpsons. It's basically whatever The Simpsons was doing 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Where it's more adult-oriented jokes, and it's like, I think you could tell like you could do Breaking Bad as an animation. You know what I mean? Or True Detective, something that's like more mature or whatever. And I think there should be a reason why you're doing it in that medium as opposed to live action. But I appreciate that diversity. When I was, we had a guest on. We had Emma Fife, who's amazing, to talk about Death Note.
Yeah.
And then
Death Note. Yeah.
I tried to watch Death Note, the anime.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it. Is there hope for me in anime?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like me, and I'm not into all of it. And I think that's okay. I'm into so many things that I just can't. I don't think I can be expected to watch everything. And I know sometimes
let's ask
that
the people at home. Let's see if
I
they
know
think
sometimes that makes people upset, but like stuff resonates me with it that does. And devoting like your entire life to a series. That's why when people are like, should I get into Dragon Ball? I'm like, if you haven't, I don't know.
Yeah. It's, how many years at this point has it been?
So you're looking at like 3 decades. It started in 86. And I don't know if I did the correct math, but
I was way into that as a kid. And then about the 10th episode where he was on that dragon bridge, Goku.
Snake Way,
yeah. As a kid, I started to tune out a little bit.
The reason why I rep so hard for it is because, one, it is coming out, like they just had so much success with their Boilie film that came out that was like groundbreaking. It was like the top, I think, 3 anime opening weekends of all time, even though it was in limited series. The day that it came out, which was on a Wednesday, so people went out and saw it on a Wednesday when it first came out. It beat everything else. It beat Aquaman and like everything else that was in theaters on that day, and it made $7 million in that single day.
Was this in Japan or
Here.
around the world?
Here.
Wow.
A lot of people were
That's
tweeting us to talk about it, but
crazy.
it's like, man, I don't think this is the one for us to jump and for me to jump in on.
Yeah.
But it was crazy popular. It was trending.
I remember when Goku fought Frieza the first time. Is that enough knowledge to watch this movie and know what's happening?
They're both in it. But what I was going to say
Wait, they killed Frieza. How is he in it?
You gotta watch.
Yeah.
But
Also,
anyways,
why did he
what I
sound
was
like an old woman?
what I was gonna say is that's why I rep it so hard, because I do think that they're gonna do more with it, and I'm very excited to be a part of that in some way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Quick question just for Dragon Ball. Is all of it important, like comics sometimes, where they reboot and then they say, just kidding, the 60 years before
No,
do count?
GT, they kind of swapped, they got rid of GT, which is cool. It can exist, and a lot of people didn't like it, but it can exist on its own. They kind of just was super. They were like, oh, that actually didn't happen. Anyways.
One thing that bums me out about that, I heard about that. I think that was Super Saiyan 4 where you got the red fur and the monkey tail.
It was
I thought that
dope.
looked super cool.
It still exists, just in a different, and maybe they'll eventually tie it in. I'm sure that maybe they'll eventually tie it in. Who knows? the world is their oyster.
You know what? It's a Dragon Ball world, and we're all just living in it.
There we go. What a tagline. New tagline for the podcast. Dani, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
I'm at Ms. Dani Fernandez on all the things. I have a show called Nerdificent. It drops every Tuesday wherever you get podcasts. Our next episode coming up is Black Panther. It's a history of Black Panther. And we have Jeff Thorne, who is the showrunner for Black Panther's Quest on Disney XD.
Whoa.
That he came in and broke down Black Panther with us. So,
Good
yeah.
get. That's a good get. You had Tara Strong on.
Oh, we did have Tara
That's
Strong.
really cool.
Yeah, I'm just pulling everyone that follows me on Twitter. But we also had Sam. So if you want to hear the history of the Flash, we really got into it in a fun way. So yeah.
And like Dragon Ball Nerdificent, you gotta watch every episode to understand.
Everyone is important. Someone just re-listened to our podcast and they started making references to stuff I have no idea. 2 years ago. I don't know. My memory is way too tiny.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, DJ, what's your Twitter?
DJ Talks Trash, every place that matters. And if you want to know more about this podcast, you can find us at onlystupidanswers.com or on Twitter at onlystupidanswers.
Yank out the vowels from stupid. I'm at Sam Basher everywhere that matters. But most importantly, you can watch this podcast live at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. You can join the Discord where you can chit-chat with other people, make little jokes. You guys, I gave you a meme channel and you're doing awful things in it. So good for you. But yes, you can tune back every Monday for a brand new podcast just for you, bespoke. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. For everybody who watched live, thank you for joining us.
Danny Boy, Super Mac, Caitlin, thank you. We're going to be doing the comic book show in a second, so just hang out. We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.